Thank you so much for joining us, Issam. Truly a pleasure having you on Brand Equity and truly a pleasure having you on ET Now.
Thank you, Sonali, and welcome to Colgate. We are very happy to have you here today.
So let me start with first congratulating you on being once again the #1 most trusted brand on the Brand Equity Survey. 5 years in a row, no mean feat. So what is that magic formula really?
We are extremely humbled with being voted the #1 most trusted brand in India 5 years in a row. It has been an amazing experience and an amazing journey. Really, we're focusing on 4 strategic initiatives that we go for. First is engaging to build our brands that drive growth. Second is the innovation that underpins that growth.
Sure.
Third, effectiveness and efficiencies that needed to fund that growth. And last is leading to win. And leading to win is really developing our leaders and the leadership behavior to continue to win on the ground. At the end of the day, while doing all these things, we continue to be committed to the communities we do business in.
Right. So, Issam, you know, almost every top-notch multinational tells me the same thing. How are you different from your competitors? Because how is it that the consumers on the ground continue to vote you at the #1 slot? So what is it that one different thing that you're doing?
Sure. I think it all boils with trust. If you, for the last 78 years, the consumers have been at the heart, the trust of the consumers have been at the heart of everything we do.
Right.
If you look at mothers' trust, you have real mothers with real testimony testifying their trust in the brand, in Colgate brand, that protects their kids and families' oral health needs. You have our scholarship program. This program initiated back in 2009, benefited almost 1,200 kids, students. You have our Oral Health Month program. This is in close partnership, amazing partnership with the Indian Dental Association. This program created back in 2004, so a long time. Last year, 5.5 million people have benefited from the program, reaching over 1,000 cities in association with 35,000 dentists. Last but not least also, our Bright Smiles, Bright Futures program. And this one has started back in 1976. To date, 125 million students have benefited from this program, talking about oral care awareness. Right. If you look from this end, as I mentioned earlier, it's all about trust and the trust they have in the brand. And consumers will remain at the heart of everything we do in Colgate.
Sure, sure. Give me the highlights for the last 1 year. You know, all your new initiatives and you know, the key highlights that you'd like to bring to the fore in terms of what Colgate Palmolive as a company did.
So from an innovation perspective, be it from a global brands or be it from an Indian innovation, we have been in the forefront of innovation.
Okay.
We have brought into the market, basically, if it was for India, if you look at the Colgate Active Salt franchise, the last one was Colgate Active Salt with Neem, with our brand ambassador Priyanka Chopra. We continue to innovate behind the whitening segment. And in 2014, it has been voted the #1 the product of the year. From an innovation on toothbrushes, we have relaunched the entire Colgate 360 line. We brought in Colgate Slim Soft Charcoal. Also, charcoal have voted the product of the year for 2015. We continue to innovate from a global menu as well as from a local menu at the same time.
Issam, you know, talking specifically about Colgate, it's been a brand that has a legacy for many, many years, in fact, decades. But if you look at 90% of the brands world over, they constantly try and, you know, do a makeover of sorts in terms of the way they look, feel, and even communicate, right? For Colgate, of course, they have maintained their look, feel, and are pretty formulaic in the way they communicate. So you know it is a Colgate ad. It's pretty scientific in its approach, and there is a formula that you stick with. And it's tried and tested. So there's very little in terms of really, you know, working with the format. And that seems to have worked for you. However, your close rivals seem to be, you know, using a lot more, you know, new age lingo, creativity, etc. So, you know, both approaches, both contrasting approaches, of course, leading to the same desired result. How does this work for you? Why is it that you stick to the tried and tested?
Okay, so I would disagree with this,
Okay.
but let's try to break the myth this time.
Sure.
all our advertising campaigns and integrated marketing campaigns are insight driven. Once the insight is there, that's what we work on. And we deploy different creative routes for different offerings. So let me start. For example, you have Colgate Strong Teeth, where you have, as I mentioned, real mothers, testimonials talking about the trust they have in Colgate to protect their children. On the other hand, you have our youth brand, like Colgate Max Fresh. Freshness platform, we have a youth icon such as Alu Arjun doing his moves and dance. It's really completely different. So we are deploying different creative routes for different offerings. Actually, we even took it much further, where we have invited our consumers to do their own dance and song and send it to us. We don't only communicate in our advertising, but we also do it through our packs. Most recently, we have introduced into the market Colgate Strong Teeth Collectibles. It gives the opportunity to children to work on setting up their own magical kingdom, cutting the pack and getting all the picturesque inside. So when you look at the most important thing for me is that when you look back and look at all our advertising campaign and being voted the most trusted brand for 5 years in a row, that tells you that our communication is touching the hearts and minds of our consumers. Now, as you mentioned, tried and tested, yes, but consistent and creative.
So what essentially you're saying, if I just, get all the PR out of the way, what you're saying is that what has worked for Colgate is the fact that they remain consistent in their brand communication, whether it be in terms of look, feel, or even the way they communicate in terms of visuals.
So it is tried and tested, very consistent, but at the same time, it's insight driven. Once you have the insight, then you can work on it.
Right. Talking about inflation, how does inflation impact the oral segment? How has that impacted you as a company, and have you seen any kind of down trading because of inflation?
So, inflation is a reality, and it affects us and affects everyone else.
Sure.
We have been working on tackling it in the past and continue in the future. Currently today, we don't see down trading.
Okay.
Within the Colgate portfolio, we have a spectrum of products from an entry point all the way up to the super premium, basically to continue to cater for the consumer share of wallet. So I don't see there is down trading. As a matter of fact, addressing all different price points for different consumers.
But how is it impacting the segment per se?
I don't think it has impacted. If you look at in the context of the global economy, right, you've seen some economic downturns.
Sure.
But we have also seen that some of the categories have registered earlier volume declines than toothpaste. As a matter of fact, when you go back over the past, I would say 5 to 6 months, we have seen the tide changing. So the category is coming back with a growth in the interim of around probably 3 to 4%. So I'll leave it as a positive note that the volume, the category volume is coming back, and we definitely don't see down trading.
You're saying the category volume is coming back after seeing a dip, which is what analysts also claim, that the category per se had seen a dip.
It's coming back. It's lesser of a dip than the others. It took a longer tail.
Why is that? Why did that happen?
I don't think, within the basket of product, the basket of things that you have to buy, sometimes consumers stretch their usage a little bit longer. But once consumers are loyal to your brand, they don't down trade.
I've always been, a bit confused about how, in the toothpaste segment, how does one increase usage, given the fact that most people brush their teeth once in India, I believe, and okay, at maximum you can make that twice. But how do you really increase usage? Is that something that also plays on your mind?
Of course. We look at growth in India in two areas.
Sure.
Number one is increasing penetration, and second is increasing consumption. If I take the first one, increasing penetration, today 250 to 300 million people in India do not use toothpaste. So we're still working on building that penetration to bring in those non-users to become users. We also leverage different gatherings such as Puri Rath Yatra, Kumbh Mela, to spread the oral health awareness. Second, when it gets to consumption, yes, consumers brush, the majority of consumers in India brush once a day. So we're still working on areas to improve the communication on the benefits of oral health, the benefit of brushing twice a day.
Sure.
So there's many programs in the works to touch base on these two growth pillars. Again, penetration and consumption. This is how we're going to grow the category.
Okay, but would you agree that for you now to grow in terms of revenues and ensure that profitability is up, you would have to focus on the premium end of the segment?
Not necessarily. I think the premium end of the segment of the pyramid is very well served within our
really? Okay.
Absolutely within our Colgate portfolio. We have Colgate Visible White, Colgate Total, Colgate Sensitive Pro Relief. This is from the toothpaste portfolio.
Right.
When you look from the toothbrush portfolio, we have Colgate 360, Colgate Slim Soft. This is addressing the premium end. But at the end of the day, within Colgate, we are addressing all price points. We have price points from rupee 5 all the way up to rupee 130. So different offerings for different segments of the market. I think the profits will come not only from the premium side of the
So what you're saying is the growth thrust will continue to come from areas which are not so penetrated, where people will start consuming and understanding the need for oral hygiene and hence start using a toothpaste.
Absolutely. I mean, as I mentioned before, increasing the consumption, brushing twice a day, and increasing penetration, and continue the work on premiumization.
Sure, but I mean, almost all companies were betting very hard on rural. There was a big rural thrust. And when you go back and you look at those cases, and in fact companies today and analysts also claim that the rural bet has not paid off as much as, let's say, the urban bet. So the urban growth is actually doing quite well vis-a-vis rural, and that was really not envisaged. Would you be in agreement?
Our programs goes from urban to rural. This, at the end of the day, we are addressing all India. So we continue our programs in rural India as well as in urban India, and we cannot dissect each. When you talk about penetration, the penetration with 250 to 300 million people, this is in rural India, not in urban India. So we continue to focus there. We're talking about consumption. It's about users who are only brushing once a day, moving them to brushing twice a day. So whether or not the growth in rural India has paid or didn't pay, or in urban is paying much more, at the end of the day, we service all India, rural and urban.
You've talked a lot about innovation and how Colgate has been innovating. However, there is a the critics that you have, right, say that Colgate, despite being the dominant leader, is not the pioneer of innovation, at least in India, but really only moves when compelled to. So, you're happy being the second mover, and you will not introduce products and take the lead, despite the fact that you have a very attractive international basket. Why is that? Is that a conscious strategy on your part?
Not really. I mean, we have been at the forefront of innovation. As I mentioned earlier, in India, we were the first to bring Colgate Total Charcoal from the global menu. India for India innovation, our Active Salt franchise is born in India. The last one was Active Salt with Neem, talking about pyorrhea. If you look at the whitening segment in India, which we have created back in 2013 with Colgate Visible White. On the toothbrush side, Colgate Slim Soft Charcoal with infused bristles, also a new innovation that won the Product of the Year this year. So we look at the global menu, we look at India for India innovation, but unless it is inside-driven innovation, then it makes sense. If it's not, then we're not going to bring to the market something that does not make sense.
But in hindsight, would you say that you're launching your sensitive toothpaste after GSK was possibly a move that you thought if you could do it again, you would be the pioneers? Or you were saying it doesn't matter because following sometimes reaps better returns?
Not necessarily. I mean, we are in sensitive. We have launched our base sensitive, called Sensitive Original.
As a reaction.
As a reaction. It is within our global portfolio, and we brought into the market. The sensitive market category have been growing, and we have been educating, along with the Indian Dental Association through a program called the Pro Relief Movement, continue to educate consumers about the root of sensitivity cause. The segment is there. We're participating today. We'll participate in the future, and we'll continue to be actively in this segment.
Okay. Over the years, Colgate has gained market share, on account of regional players. So you have really been cornering share there. But given the sudden rise you see in strong players emerging now suddenly from, different regions, how do you see that going forward in terms of you further garnering share?
Sure. So we have been the oral care market leader in toothpaste and in toothbrushes.
Yeah.
Toothpaste is around 57% market shares, toothbrushes around 43% market shares. And we continue to look at spotting trends, looking at the new news, whether be it on a national basis or be it on a regional basis. Again, as I mentioned, we're always looking at new news in the market and spotting these trends. So when we have a new innovation coming along within our, as we mentioned before, if it's tried and tested somewhere around the world or tried and tested internally, then we'll bring it to the market. So we have been growing market shares nationally as well on a regional basis.
Do you see this continuing, this trend?
Absolutely.
Right. I'm only asking this question because there seems to be an anti-MNC movement, spiraled by Baba Ramdev himself with the launch of Patanjali. In fact, when I interviewed him last week, he told me on camera that, beware Colgate, beware levers, beware Nestle. I'm going to ensure that you're all doomed. And he says that, especially for levers and Colgate, he said, his particular brand, Patanjali Dant Kanti, as he calls it, is already doing quite well. And I believe that it is giving a lot of MNCs sleepless nights, including you, as several others.
I can't comment on that, but I tell you, our plans are there for this year, for next year, and we continue to compete in the Indian market. And we have our innovation, our strategy to see us for the future.
Yeah, but see, given you're so correct and so, right in your, politically correct in your statements, in your advertising, in your brand communication, and here there is a person who is a yoga guru who just has no qualms, saying anything he wishes, and has no qualms actually making this an anti-multinational movement. How are you going to compete in terms of communication? And this is not just for you; it's for all the multinationals here. It is a bit difficult to, speak that language because he has a, no holds barred approach and says whatever he wants.
We continue to compete on the same platform. As I mentioned to you, the last 78 years, the trust of consumers will always remain at the heart of everything we do. Our consumers are trusting Colgate, and they continue to do it every day.
Just talking about your competitors, of course, we know GSK is very aggressive in the sensitive category. P&G is finally woken up and has entered and is apparently really upping its advertising spends. What kind of impact do you think this will have on the market leader, which is you?
On the sensitive segment or an overall?
Overall. Sensitive, of course. And of course, P&G finally waking up and getting a little aggressive in this market, and they have apparently upped their advertising spends, are going to become a lot more aggressive than they have been earlier.
I'm not aware of that, but within the sensitive segment, as I mentioned earlier, we are there in a big way. We continue with the, consistent with our strategies, with our current portfolio, and focusing on the programs that we had with the Indian Dental Association. So it's not being worried or not worried. I think we'll continue with what we have, and it's been working very well.
Is Colgate, the Indian entity, looking at any M&A, really, so to speak, going forward?
We continue to look at every possible opportunity, and we evaluate every opportunity as long as it is within our core business. So
but it's been a long time since you made an acquisition.
Maybe.
Is that part of your strategy?
Of course, it's part of the strategy.
Or are you focused on organic?
No, we're focused on organic, but if something comes along the way and makes sense within our core business, definitely it will be evaluated.
Coming to personal care, you have such a wonderful international basket. Why is it that Colgate Palmolive is just not aggressive with its personal care portfolio?
So recently this year, we have relaunched our Palmolive liquid hand soap.
Okay.
A completely new range of liquids and completely new range of foam, which we didn't have in the past.
Okay.
And we continue to upgrade and improve our Palmolive body shower. So from this end, we are innovating behind our current line. And as we see more opportunity within that line, we continue to bring to the market.
So are you saying that we will see at least, let's say in 2016, a lot more from your personal care portfolio?
If it's, as I mentioned before, if it's insight driven and there's a reason for it to be in the market, then yes. And if not, then we'll hold back.
Okay, so right now we're going to be seeing only hand washes and body washes.
That's what we just recently launched.
Have.
Liquid hand soap and liquid body shower.
Are you saying that your insights tell you that this is this is all one can see should be investing in India in the personal care portfolio?
No, I think it's vast. I think the focus today is oral care, and then when we have a new innovation within personal care, we always look at the modern trade channel. That's where we want to be. Today, Palmolive has very high market shares within the modern trade, and we continue to compete in that section.
Since you have actually sat at the global headquarters, you probably have a fish eyes view on different markets. How is India as a market if you compare it with, let's say, other developing markets? Let's not even go into advanced markets.
Yeah. India is very unique. And it's phenomenal. As I mentioned, every region is different. There's many India in India, and you have to deploy different strategies for different regions. You don't see that around the world, and that's what makes India unique and wonderful.
So it is possibly the most complex and toughest market.
It is a very complex market. Yes.
It is, because there is no homogeneity in the market.
Yeah. But the loyalty is superb. The loyalty for the brand is amazing.
Is it something that is more than other countries in the world?
Some of it, yes, and others. Some of it, yes, absolutely. When you have 57% market share, being voted 5 years in a row as the most trusted brand, we've been in the country for 78 years. So when you look from this angle, consumers' loyalty and consumers' trust means a lot, and that's why we have been continue to grow in India.
There's also a question about so many different variants that you have, right? And you keep launching more and more variants at different price points. Does it make sense for, in terms of just profitability, to have so many variants?
Basically, when you look at the new news that we bring in, or the variants, as we introduce new variants, we go back and look at the current portfolio and we see which one is the least, let's say, the least performing. Mm-hmm. So we don't continue to add without taking something out. Okay. So at the end of the day, the focus will always be there as ensuring whatever we have out there continue to perform very well.
Are you the market leaders?
In the whitening segment, yes.
And in the sensitive segment?
In the sensitive segment, we're not the leaders yet.
It's a big GSK, right?
The GSK is the market leader. We're not the market leader yet.
Okay. People are not using a toothpaste, right, in places where it is not penetrated. What are they using?
What are they using? Sometimes home remedies, sometimes maybe I would say like a twig, but mainly I would say home remedies.
On that note, thank you so much for giving me time. And once again, let me congratulate you on being India's most trusted brand. And all the very best for 2016. And hopefully you'll emerge on top once again.
Thank you, Sonali, and welcome to Colgate again.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.